Toronto Maple Leafs finally got their guy. Austin Matthews is a longtime Leaf, well, at least for 5 years. So now that the big guy's taken care of, Steve Simmons, where do they go next? What does Kyle Dubas have on his plate? And, you know, according to me, it's a pretty heavy plate. I don't know how you feel about it.
Well, there's really 3 different things you look at.
3 courses.
Yeah, it's a big meal. You have the Mitch Marner contract situation and whether you can sign him or whether you will sign him. We know he's going to sign. It's a question for how much and how many years and when will they do it. And I suspect that will all be done in the next month or 2, even though they say they're not going to negotiate during the season. But I think those things are off now. Trade deadline's coming up on the 25th.
Right. That's item 2.
This is a year that the Leafs believe they have a shot, as do a number of other teams. But so the question becomes is, what are you looking for? Can you get it? Who do you add? What do you need? You know, they've added
Jake Muzzin
already, which was a really nice addition. I think they could use a bouncing kind of forward. I mean, I know Wayne Simmons' name has been mentioned a bunch of times.
Michael Furland also from Carolina fills that kind of mold.
Those kind of guys. And then there's the what about next year stuff. What are you doing with Jake Gardiner? You know, is he going? Are you letting him go? How does that work? What are you doing with Kapanen and Janssen, because they have to be signed? There's a lot of sort of pieces here that you have to work with. And so Dubas has got a lot of moving parts, the most immediate one being the trade deadline.
Yeah, and with the trade deadline, let's not forget, they've got an opportunity here, a window of opportunity that's not going to be around next season. Like, they have somewhere around $4 million to spend, and that's because Marner and Matthews, their contracts aren't kicking in until next season. So this is a one-time really chance to kind of go for it, I see, with the Leafs. The problem is, by going for it, what do you got to give up? Now, they've already given up a first-round pick in the Muzzin deal. Do you dip into that talent pool where, you know, you might need a Rasmus Sandin in the next couple of years, or even a Timothy Liljegren in the next couple of years, if you're going to be losing a lot of guys to free agency?
They're not going to trade Sandin. I think that goes without saying. They're not trading him. I think everybody else is kind of in play amongst their prospects. But the interesting thing for me is you take a guy, Austin Matthews just signed, and the Bobby Orr group being his agent. You know who else the Bobby Orr group represents? Connor Brown. So Connor Brown's sitting there in the Maple Leaf dressing room at about a $2 million salary, probably playing at about $750,000 worth of use this year. And so does a guy like him get moved for a cheaper piece, or one of the guys, you know, you're including him in a bigger deal for maybe
Andreas Johnson and Kasperi Kapanen. Yeah. There's a lot of guys on the fringe there.
So, you know, does one guy getting rich, does that mean you have to move another guy? And I'd be worried if I'm Connor Brown, for example, about either being traded now or being traded in the summer.
Well, and this is really the dilemma that Kyle Dubas is under right now as general manager. I think you've got to sign your big guys. You've got to sign the big 3 as he's done. Doesn't matter how much you pay your top guys. It's what you do with the middle guys. That's how you win or lose a cup. And if you overpay guys like Connor Brown or Kasperi Kapanen or Andreas Janssen, that's when you get yourself into trouble.
There's another mess on his hands that he didn't create for himself, and that's the Patrick Marleau contract.
Or the Nikita Zaitsev contract.
Yeah, so, but you can't, I don't know what you can do with the Zaitsev contract.
Unless
you can find him in a trade somewhere. But Marleau is $6 million. He's not a $6 million player anymore. He's a middle-of-your-roster player. If you keep him, you likely can't keep Jake Gardiner. And you got to ask yourself, who would you rather have? Obviously, you'd rather have Jake Gardiner. So what the Leafs need to do, I think, at the end of this season, is pay Marleau his bonus, which brings his salary down for next year, which means he might be able to trade if he accepts a trade on his no-movement clause.
You know what else is going to make him easier to trade? A Stanley Cup ring. So we'll see what happens at the end of the season. Obviously, please let us know what you think on Facebook or Twitter, and don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel right below. For Post Media News, I'm Michael Trikos, Steve Simmons.